no justice for the earth. We want justice round the world. Oh, oh, no, no, the time has come.
Standing out here in St. James Park. I'm Matt Zenin with D.D.P Studios Network News, and we're with Alex here at the protest. Alex, pleasure to meet you today.
Hi,
nice to meet you. Can you just tell me, what is this protest here? Have you been here for a while, or?
I've been here on and off. I've been here on and off for past few days, mostly at night. This is my first time coming here during the day. I have a few friends who are more intimately involved with logistics and media. Yeah, this.
But you haven't slept in, you haven't slept. Okay, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that have, and it's starting to get cold. What is this? What is this protest? How does this? What does this mean to you? This protest?
I can't say it really means anything specific to me. I'm sure there are a lot of people here who have different backgrounds, different agendas, different causes they'd like to bring to the table. My presence here has been mostly just testing the waters, seeing what it is that people are here, what their concerns are, and trying to gauge how sharp the teeth of this movement are.
Well, it's a global movement, and there's Occupy everywhere, basically. And what have you found out? What's been the thing that's really stuck in your mind as you travel around and walk around, talk to people? What's the main?
I'm a bit discouraged because I find that the most central issue or central issues are not being addressed. From what I've seen thus far. I mean, it could just be that
Can you give me an example?
The issuing authority of the money supply, who controls the money supply, when they say that, Canada or the various levels of government, whether they be federal, provincial, municipal, we're in debt. Okay, to who? What is the nature of that debt? Is it to a foreign government? Is it to a bank? Is it interest? Is it service charge? What is the debt? And the money supply, the money system, and how, as far as I'm concerned, Canada is no longer a sovereign nation. The United States is no longer a sovereign nation. They haven't been a sovereign nation since 1913. When banks determine the policy of a nation, then that nation is no longer sovereign. And that's something that is not being discussed here at all by anybody from what I can see or hear.
Yeah, we are discussing it though quite a bit, and your answer to your question, it's actually BA International, and it's actually a subsidiary of G&D Corporation, which is a German company from Munich, Germany, who actually prints mostly all the banknotes in all of the world, who is now
right.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of globalists, really.
Well, yeah, there's that. I find that if we can address that, then we're going somewhere. I just find that, and not to sound like a curmudgeon or something, but we're coming here and we're like the same things like racism, sexism. I think most of the people who are here are beyond that, we're beyond like the issues of racism and sexism. I feel like we're beating old issues, and for me, I say this as a white, privileged, able-bodied male, but show me where in the mainstream media you're going to see people encouraging sexism and racism. I don't see it. I actually see people getting slaughtered whenever they make a mistake or slip up and say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Well, it's interesting. I found because this is my second time around covering this event, I've noticed an underlying frustration where people just seem to be wanting to at least have the cost of living. And the last person I spoke to, Jason Ross, he was saying that he felt that the problem wasn't minimum wage, for instance. He felt that it was maximum wage, that was an issue. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I find that oftentimes the people who do the least in our society are compensated the most. Not always, but in many cases, bank executives and, glorified bureaucrats who, at the end of the day, don't produce anything. They consume paper, ink, and electricity, but they don't produce anything, and yet they are compensated enormously, very, very handsomely. Whereas, let's say, civil servants, people who like, janitors and bus drivers and people who make things happen, or even, well, that's the other thing. If we're going to talk about jobs and wages, well, most of the manufacturing sector is gone. It's all foreign now.
Yeah.
How are we going to talk about jobs and wages when, well, why are they all in China?
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting that you mentioned that.
What's wrong with building things here, right here at home, like clothes or electronics or whatever the case may be?
Well, even a lot of major financial institutions like banks and credit card companies have outsourced a lot of their work to other countries because on paper it looks cheaper, but you get what you pay for, and a lot of people I'm finding are frustrated by that.
I agree with you in that regard, and for me, it's not so much the dollar amount, like minimum wage, maximum wage. I mean, if let's say minimum wage was $20 an hour, people would say, great, $20 an hour. It's like, yeah, but if bread costs $20, if your purchasing power is reduced through inflation, exactly. If your purchasing power is reduced, then it doesn't matter what you're getting paid per hour.
Yeah.
Like, we got to talk about. I don't even like using the word money. I like using the word purchasing power, because that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
How much bread or wood or oil or whatever can you buy, right?
Would you agree that the consensus is that it's greed?
Well, yeah, they're, but good. It's going to be. I mean, the Bible. We have ancient documents that are dealing with these human emotions and sentiments. I mean, when I see signs saying "end racism," I'm like, you're not going to end it, man, because that's kind of, unless we have some divine intervention where suddenly all of humanity just becomes enlightened, which would be great. You're always going to have incidents of greed and struggle for power and privilege and racism and sexism. It's there. It's like this. I don't know, man. I think can you just end it?
So,
Why not?
so the main thing, I'm guessing the main thing, what you think is probably the thing is education,
awareness.
but also one of the problems is major inflation then. But I think some of these food crises, we're mentioning food. Just the last thing here was that I think a lot of the crisis that we're having with food is created. I mean, milk. You talk to dairy farmers out in Saskatchewan or Manitoba or even here in Ontario, they have quotas that they have to meet. They're not allowed to sell the rest of their milk. They have to dump it out.
Who forces these regulations upon them?
Yeah, see, but McDonald's too. I mean, they throw a lot of food away. It's not uncommon to see a store, for instance, throw $3,000 worth of bread away just because it didn't sell, and there's nothing wrong with it. How does that sit with you?
Not well. I mean, that's something that I've been aware of ever since I was a young child, and working several jobs, like working in various, whether it be restaurants, grocery stores. I see waste everywhere, at every level. At every level, there is enormous amounts of waste. There is so much resource to go around, and it's just so horribly managed.
Yep.
There's waste on every level: the retail level, the distribution level, the warehouse level, the consumer level.
It's that consumption and waste that's driving society, though, and it's got to change as far as I'm concerned. It shouldn't.
I totally agree with you.
But Alex, I want to take the time to thank you for allowing us to interview you.